Hello, friends. Welcome to Q&A Tuesday. Good to be here. So someone asked this wonderful question. I'm working on nervous system regulation to help with overeating. What is your take around this? And a little more about, do I need to work on this? And how would what's your recommendations on doing so and learning and training around this? So I love the question. And first of all, I just think it's wonderful to notice this interest in regulating the nervous system and talking about the nervous system and, getting fired up and whatever that actually is, having a nervous system in the first place and looking and feeling what it is, feeling the experience of being nervous, being overactivated, being triggered, that we often will be thinking of frequently when it comes to any kind of addictive or compulsive process. Like, we'll look back and how many times I'd analyze what was the process of being, stimulated to then have the mind move into thoughts of cravings. And, was it physical? Was it mental? Was it emotional? Was it memory based? Where was the trauma found? Was it like a lot of looking there? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there was a lot of looking at it. And actually, I wouldn't say that was unhelpful. Don't even kind of imply that it might be, because there can be a lot of incredible, awareness and insight in all of that, and in the looking that I did, being in a group called Beyond Dieting for a while, and being in a therapy group for a few years that was just for adults learning how to interact with one another. It's amazing. And watching that sense of whatever anxiety is and getting more familiar in some ways, or more open to being with that, whatever we're calling, like the nervous system being activated. Thoughts about that my nervous system is too active can sometimes be stressful. I mean, it's okay to be noticing that there's something kind of a, speedy and busy and nervous, and it often feels like that pre-habit, pre-compulsive behavior. I just need to calm down, we'll say. So normal. And then there's the reaching and pulling and moving towards whatever thing has actually worked. In this case of the writer, the person's talking about overeating, which I know, here we are in the Eating Peace group and Facebook group, Eating Peace. It is talking about eating and those kind of triggers, but really any kind of movement towards something that looks like it's a temporary bandage. All these behaviors, you kind of go through an episode of something, they all kind of feel and look about the same. I mean, there'll be such similar thoughts about whether it's drink or porn or screens or games or buying something or looking or researching or, kind of watching the mind move speedily and do what it does, or wanting to understand that trigger moment and get into whatever is happening when we have the big rush of feeling, or even the smaller one, just sort of a malaise kind of graze eating, or just a little movement, like watching Netflix endlessly that doesn't look like it's super activated trigger nervous system, something or other, but still here I am just sort of engulfed in this a little bit of a void experience. So in any case, kind of shows up a little bit differently, but some of the same things. So I love this quote from Katie. I read it yesterday in the summer camp. It made me think of this, the response to this question that a lovely reader had. So Katie says, in Loving What Is, she's in a dialogue with someone. She says, my experience is that you can't drop a thought because you didn't make it in the first place. So really, taking that in, my experience is you can't drop a thought because you didn't make it in the first place. Like here it is, other things that happen in our physical bodies, we kind of say, oh, that's a surprise. Oh, that, this occurred, but we're not, there might be a little bit of taking it personally or whatever it was that happened for sure after, but it's like, it's just an occurrence, and we're sort of can see ourselves as being the observers of this thing that's happening. If I break my arm, like, wow, that happened, and now I'm experiencing what it feels like to have this injury, and then what happens next, and what happens next, and the body's already immediately working on the healing of it all immediately, and there's assistance in the world to help that all actually like heal the best way possible. But all we can do is kind of like help the channel of that healing process happen better from all the studying that human beings have done. In any case, this aspect of healing is already beginning to happen immediately, and we didn't make the injury or the healing even happen. And it seems like, at least for me, we don't take that quite so personally. There's something about me, but I know that when we do this compulsive behaviors, it's like we're overthinking or over feeling a certain way or actively participating in some kind of behavior that we don't like, that we're judging. It looks like there's something really wrong with it. But I love that consideration. My experience is that you can't drop a thought because you didn't make it in the first place. So even trying to drop, shift, change, work on it, work on this. So, and then she goes on to say, so the question is simply, can you see a reason to drop the thought? And of course, we often can. Can you see a reason to drop the thought? Often, very good reasons can be found in your answer to question 3. How do you react when you think that thought? Each stressful reaction, anger, for example, or sadness or distancing, is a good reason to drop the thought. So in some ways, it's like, as in all wise approaches, there's a paradox. So it is interesting to see what it is I'm thinking and believing that might have activated. I kind of have to have a perception for the adrenal glands to go boom and fire off some adrenaline, or something else is being activated in the body. Sometimes there's physical experiences that are shifting or changing in the body. But in any case, this question, now I don't know at all if this person is busy with this or feeling stressed about it. But the wording, I'm working on nervous system regulation to help with overeating. It sounds, if it is in service, fabulous. And I love feeling from the neck down, like we're doing the work, and it looks sort of like we're capturing thoughts and doing something up here in the head, watching whatever the mind does, what the mind produces. And questioning it, applying this an open-minded, kind of don't know mind, self-inquiry, watching what happens when we believe and kind of grab and go down a trail of thinking something is real, true, the truth about us, the truth about life, and just noticing stress rise and fall based on what's there. I suppose it's a kind of detachment to notice, isn't it? Like just watching, just letting it be the way it is, letting it be the way it is. So in any case, the comment, what's your take on this? I'm working on nervous system regulation. So wonderful. And I like noticing this person may or may not be thinking this, but here I am. I might be believing this nervous system is overly active. And it might be that it's overly active. But if I'm upset about being overly active, and I think that to calm it down will shift everything for me, it may or may not be true, but I think what it is that I imagined or opened up to, and the question is that I have to be the one working on it. I mean, it almost looks like we're doing that when we do the work. Like, I want to work on these thoughts. I'm gonna, I want to make it so they don't become the automatic thing that I believe or think. I don't even want them to enter my mind. And sort of the aggression sometimes that can happen. I need to work on this. So consider, in our basket of all approaches, what if I didn't even try so hard to regulate anything? Well, I know we'll regulate our eating and regulate our approach, and regulate our emotions, and regulate our thinking. But what if we didn't have to make something happen, like work on something? It is so funny because it's called The Work of Byron Katie, the self-inquiry process that I'm always inviting us into. I just love the simplicity of the 4 questions and finding turnarounds and giving the mind, in a way, something to do with those, the awareness of what we're thinking, communicating to ourselves. But what if I don't have to actually do the work, do whatever kind of work, and just something, I guess that, so who would we be without the story? This absolutely must change. The person who wrote in wasn't saying that there's a lot of aggression or stress around it, but I just really love thinking that, especially with this idea of just wondering and questioning, that especially with my thinking, I'm in charge of anything here. Again, with Katie, my experience is that you can't drop a thought because you didn't make it in the first place. So here's this nervous system, whatever it is, activated, approach to life. It might look like things are a struggle, and then I get really nervous sometimes. And this process of compulsive behavior comes in as a rescuer, as something to help. It does help us. We go through this episode and then things calm down. We've kind of done it, beginning, middle, and end, and then it's over. Well, and just like, I guess, having an acceptance around that. I remember, over a decade of this binge eating and heavy thinking about how wrong it was and how bad I was to be doing it, how embarrassing and shameful, how disgusted I was with the process, and definitely thinking, what's wrong with me? And I would see, it took a while to see that I was very disturbed about anger at other people. Like, if I had it. In other words, if I kind of wanted to set a boundary, or if I wanted to say, no, I actually don't want to do that, or I'm not interested, or if I wanted to have a dialogue with somebody that was suggesting something or asking me something or saying, I'd kind of freeze instead of, and then I'd feel anger later. And then it was nervousness, just a great nervousness. Talk about anxiety. Just felt like there was tons of anxiety. Somebody just last night, a good friend, was asking me about my experience when I was in college, and I was sharing because her daughter had dropped out of college. And I was like, oh, I dropped out of college. I did the same exact thing. I just mid-year, boom, I just showed up back at my parents' house I'm not going back. I just can't. There was just a sudden something or other. And I remember checking to see if I had enough money in my bank account. It was barely enough, but to just cover a plane ticket. And I just got on the airplane. I got a ride from somebody who was even just an acquaintance. I got dropped off at the airport. I booked the flight. It was very soon. Got on the airplane, one-way ticket, and went home. And I don't know what happened with all that. Like, if I think, did I direct that or make that occur, whatever? I was just such a anxious bundle of nerves in a way. I'm glad that something, and I would have this binge eating happening. And I'm glad that I just did the best I could do at the time with what I knew, and made that's just what happened. I don't know if I even necessarily invented it. It just seemed like the best thing to do. It's like run for your life. That's what you do. You just kind of run. And then that was the first time I ever experienced what therapy is, going and meeting with somebody and having conversations that were very, very powerful, very helpful. And it took some time of experience to, before that whole compulsive movement faded away. And it definitely just faded away. The compulsive episodes just got farther and farther and farther apart. There wasn't like a one day and here's the date, and from now on I will be abstinent. I had lots of those in the past, and that felt like this tightening of, kind of like, talk about work. I'm working on my experience here. I'm working on my behavior. It was a bit outside in for me. I'm just going to manage the behavior and manage everything and make rules for it to find the safety. And that's all right. Sometimes that's temporarily a little peaceful, very supportive. Just follow the simple directions there, since my mind is so activated and so busy in all this. And then something wants to keep going and keep looking. Like, what is it to just find that there isn't a desire or urge for anything at all, which has been my experience for many years now. What if it just fades out into the background and it's no longer something I even want? So there's no need to regulate anything. So considering, in this world of paradox and all sides, do I need to regulate my nervous system? I love seeing that the nervous system immediately starts to regulate itself. If I broke my arm, it immediately would start to work on repair, on healing. Its interest is in balance and healing all the time. Something's built in to help us survive and do the running, get away from the thing that might kill us. And that's all right. That I was thinking at the time, this college experience might kill me. I mean, it looked like the way I thought about everything, I couldn't be with it. So nothing wrong with the running that I did. Of course, it was definitely just filled with thoughts. It made me completely blind. I couldn't even see what was happening there. There was so much thinking. But who would I be without the story? I really do have to do all the regulating here. And I'm not saying that the person who asked the question is saying that. Maybe we're just sort of like I see the way medicine has developed in many ways. We're just working with what already seems to be occurring in nature. We're just kind of opening up in that direction. And so if we're opening to this thing happen, it seems to happen in nature that human beings are compulsive and addictive and rushing in sometimes with behavior that looks like self-sabotage, that looks like it's not in service, looks like it's damaging. But why would that be happening? What would that be happening for? And can I trust the process of a natural movement here? This is the way the water needs to flow. It's going that way around a dam, perhaps, or it might look kind of sideways and crazy. But what if I could see that? Well, first of all, the actual behavior is helping regulate the nervous system, because you do the thing, and then whatever it is that you do, and then that's experience that something does settle down. So this calming down process, I just like to throw into the mix of this, I guess, is I have to get myself to calm down. Is it true? Who would I be without the story that I have to make that happen? What if I waited and allowed it just to happen all on its own? I had an image of animals that sometimes that might get startled in the forest. If you've ever been out in the wilderness and you come across an animal, they often race away, really wild animals, but a deer, I just thought of, might suddenly freeze. And they're just listening, alert, 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 watching, everything's very vivid. We're listening for sound. They're listening. What if we were a bit more like that? Or it's not even saying that the actual compulsive behavior isn't something, and it's serving us in some way, but just the smallest pause. Just pause, like the deer does, like the other animals might do. Freeze and listen and be with. Kind of looking. Who would I be without my story? I have to run now. Like just a little pause for a moment and being with it, being with that nervous system that's gotten activated. Just allowing it to be the way it is. I really love seeing that it feels like it's super overwhelming and it's kind of taking over my entire experience, but it never is. Something is here holding and looking and seeing all of it, and it's happening inside. It's like something is in the movie theater audience watching the movie, or some part of us is the screen of the movie, as someone would say. I've heard that metaphor. I love it. Or Pema Chodron would say, I am the sky. There's something here that's like a life force that's the sky. And this behavior and even the nervous system getting activated, that's all like clouds rolling through the sky, birds flying, airplanes. Maybe it's like a meteor crashing through the system. But it's all okay. It's movement, and the sky is always okay with everything that happens in it, isn't it? It doesn't even have an opinion one way or the other. It's just there, being. What if that's who we are? Totally tied and connected to all of that. And so even this, I didn't make it in the first place. So many people experience, compulsion. So somehow made by nature, as a way through, as a way to regulate. And sure, we'd like to find a different way. And one way that I love it is doing the work. It's simply relaxing. Who am I without all my thinking about this? And that I don't need to or have to regulate anything. It's going to get regulated. Yeah. So just, I love the slowness of that and the peace of it and the rest. And that can look so simple. It's just pause, even though everything feels very irregular, unregulated. Regulated is a great word that's come up here, like I need to regulate it, like it's out of control. So we're going to have some regulations. And I love that even if it feels explosive and out of control, it's going to regulate itself. Such good news. It will just calm down, just like when you get scared of something and then, the adrenal glands, they just kind of close in, begin to settle down. And could it be too cravings? All the cravings, all the movement, all the push, all the after we do something and all that shame, just relaxing with it. Just pause, wait. Just let it be a little slow. Be like a deer. Be like an animal, which we are. Oh, it's all right if we don't know what to do. It's okay. The don't know mind, something else can take over when the don't know mind is present, or when we're maybe not thinking or believing all of our thoughts are real and true. And that will happen anyway. We won't think they're all real and true constantly, even though it has felt like it to me sometimes. But it relaxes. It's amazing. We go to sleep. It's amazing we all go to sleep. Even if you think you don't sleep well, you do go to sleep and you have no thought at all and just everything is resting. It's amazing. We get rejuvenated. Whatever's going on there with sleep. Just amazing. All right, so the pause, just 3 deep breaths. Sometimes people in the Eating Peace course, well, I'll have everyone just take 3 deep breaths as a practice before any eating happens. And of course, sometimes that then becomes a rule and a regulation. And we want to, relax with that, just notice. But how fun to just, slow down and feel what it's like to breathe and relax and notice we don't have to do everything our mind is telling us to do, or our adrenal glands, or our feelings. And who we are is not any of those things. We are the sky. All right. Lots of love, everybody.